Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Groundhog's Day. I guess I haven't checked yet.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, okay,
I
I can tell it's 6 weeks of winter.
Yeah.
That's enough of a report for me.
Yeah, well, that's Pennsylvania, and here we are over here. We're gonna have spring faster.
I like that because we're west. Yes. So welcome to Rural Community Solutions. My name is Kim Spillers.
And I'm Frank Spillers. And today we're going to be talking about broadband capabilities that are bringing new opportunities for your community. But just because you have fiber to your community doesn't mean that you're utilizing and ready for the broadband. So stay tuned that, we want to talk about what are you going to do and how are you preparing to utilize that broadband capability within your communities? All right.
We'll be right back.
Will we?
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
I don't know.
Oh.
It depends on which button you push.
That one. And we're back.
Here we are. That was the button he pushed, was that 30-second countdown. We have some options, so sometimes I just don't know where he's going to go.
That's right.
So, one takeaway from this pandemic, from this last year, is an absolute crucial awareness of how important broadband internet connection, kids being able to learn from home, parents being able to work from home. That has been something that has been glaring, and communities all across the country, not just in rural America, but communities across the country have been brought front and center, smack faced with the necessity to have broadband. And so that is the second thing we're talking about this week during our show for Rural Community Solutions.
So during this time, rural communities really need to have a plan to transition into a changing environment, because your environment, the environment that your community is at, is changing at a rapid pace. So yesterday, we talked about creating that vision, getting a broad group together, a broad-based group together of leaders and non-leaders. It's important to have non-leaders in there, or people that you don't consider leaders, whatever that may be. But people that aren't normally involved in your community, you need to get them into what perception do they have of your community in order to know what direction to go. That is your very first thing that you need to do in your community. You have to embrace those new ideas. You have to embrace the new people. You can no longer get together your group of people just because they were born and raised in your community. They live there. They have the family name. They've been in your community for a while, and they are involved. You have to go out and intentionally get new people to be involved. So many times we get the complaint of nobody wants to volunteer anymore. Sorry, volunteerism is over. You need to ask people to help with efforts. Okay, so you go out and you recruit them. You ask them to be engaged. You find out their purpose, you find out their passion, and you insert them into what's going on within the community. But the most important thing is to listen to their voice, listen to their ideas. Don't discount them once you invite them in. Don't discount their ideas. You need people that have different ideas. You don't need people just to do your becking. All right. And so that's the important first part, the first step. The second step that we are looking at doing is developing broadband capabilities. Is your community broadband ready? Now, when I say broadband ready, that's more than is fiber to your community. Many communities have fiber in them already, but you're not utilizing, you're not ready to become a broadband community. And that means you need to to start to do these different things to change your environment, change your culture, change your economic development activities to incorporate what broadband infrastructure can do for your community.
So what we, oh, I lost my train of thought. Oops. It is. Yeah. Where was I going to go? I had a really great thing to say.
So with your community, then what you
back
need
to
to
me.
do is become wireless is here's some really low-hanging fruit that you can capitalize upon. People are going to choose where they want to live these days. All right. So they might be living out in California. They might be living on the coast. They might be living in large metropolitan areas. And it feels like they're like this, standing toe to toe and shoulder to shoulder. And it's really, well, that's nice, but it's really comfortable.
For those of you on the podcast,
Yeah,
I just
right.
snuggled right up next to him because there's no room in some places. We just talked to somebody yesterday who said, I had to move.
And so it is getting your community ready to attract people, not businesses. And that is the broadband capability that you need to really look at. How are we attracting the opportunity for people to use the broadband that we have as infrastructure? Think back. Well, don't think back because I can't even think back that far because this was way before my time. But historically in our country, when electricity went across this country, okay, they started the infrastructure process. We need to do that again with the broadband, but that broadband needs to reach into every home. So the broadband infrastructure needs to reach into every home in your community. Now, you might have different ways of doing that. People are thinking differently of doing that. But if your rural community really wants to grow, if you want to take advantage of what's going to be happening over the next 5 years, get your community now broadband ready. Get them ready for converting into the infrastructure and the utility of fiber to the home. All right, because you will attract home-based businesses, but more importantly, you will attract opportunities for like telemedicine, educational opportunities. You will have access to the global economy.
Telehealth and healthcare. Those are two other big pieces that are going to be more and more important for rural areas, and better access to a mobile workforce. And I remembered what it was that, just kind of slipped away as I was listening to you. Here in Iowa, I just have to sing our praises because Iowa, if you're looking to move to a rural area, if you're considering that, if you're in one of those metropolitan areas where you are shoulder to shoulder, bumper to bumper, you're tired of the drive, you're tired of the commute, you're tired of the pollution, you want a little bit more safety where there are fewer numbers of people. One of the places that we sure encourage you to consider is Iowa. Iowa, related to home-based business and entrepreneurship opportunities, has more mom and pop telephone companies than any other state in the country. We really are ahead of the game in terms of broadband connectivity. We have wonderful opportunities. We have great companies who invest in their communities and they get the job done. So if you are one of those people anywhere in the world who is looking to move someplace where it's smaller, you want to know your neighbors, you want to just have a better maybe type of lifestyle, a little bit slower paced. Your children have good opportunities. You're connected to the city, but you live in a small town. We'd sure love to talk to you, but we'd sure like to lift up Iowa as one of the states for you to consider if home-based business in entrepreneurship at home is one of the things that you'd like to see in your life.
Iowa is a great model for mom and pop phone companies, but in your state, if you have that opportunity for broadband, you need to get your communities ready. Okay, and so it is how do we grow rural America? This is it, and this is rural America's strategic advantage, is jumping on broadband capabilities and jumping on how we can wire up homes. The other aspect of that is homes. But where are we going to put people? I know some rural communities across this country are fighting to build better housing, build housing so they have someplace to put the people. Well, I'm not quite sure that if you build it, they will come. But if you create a demand and you create an economic opportunity, people will come and they will build their own, or a developer will build a housing complex because that's an entrepreneurship opportunity. Go from the creative aspect and think about your community as an entrepreneurial ground. Okay, that's their foundation, entrepreneurship, an entrepreneurial ground that will help create creativity. Creativity then spawns more creativity. And when you get that environment of creativity, you can address opportunities in a better light rather than just saying, we don't have, we can't get, we're trying to, we can't recruit, we can't do this, we can't do that. You are saying, okay, how can we? What are the opportunities? What's the creativity? So with broadband capabilities, you have access to better healthcare. You have better access to healthcare, not better healthcare, but you have better access to healthcare. You have better access to educational opportunities, K through 12, preschool through adulthood, opportunities that you can take online classes, opportunities that you can see what other people are doing. You have better access to a mobile workforce, and mobile workforce is where the economy is going. Large companies these days are looking at how they can transform their workforce into letting them work at home more so they don't have to commute into the office. Gallup, and I've said this before, Gallup has some surveys out there, and Gallup has the polls that say workers are about 30 to 35% more engaged in their job when they can commute 2 to 3 times a week. So commuting into their job, they need to be connected to that socialization. They need to be connected to the rules and the regulations and just, connected to that workforce, connected to their office, but have the autonomy to work at home sometimes, that it really does create a better work environment for them. You have better access to the hidden economy. And the hidden economy that we call are home-based businesses. Home-based businesses, as I define that as a hidden economy, is because you don't know who's working from their home. You don't know who has a business within their home. It could be a side business. It could be an extra a revenue stream for them. It can be another profit center for them. You might know them as X because they're out into a normal job. They're working for somebody else, but they also then have a business in their home. And that business in their home is probably going to overtake their normal occupation to where that's where their passion is. They want to build that business. Is your community supporting that? Or are you just saying, tapping them on the head and saying, yeah, that's nice. You go on and play with your second side income. Cabela's started in a garage. Apple Computers started in a garage. Bill Gates sold Windows out of the trunk of his car. Don't discount entrepreneurship. Broadband capabilities has that potential to really explode your economy to some out-of-the-way person, out-of-the-way creativity that your community is discounting. So you also have better access to the global economy. And we're not a siloed economy anymore. We are a global economy. And at that access, that way you can access the global economy will bring that into your home. One way that this happened back in the 90s, back in the early 90s, and early in my career with economic development, I was working with a rural community out in the panhandle of Nebraska. And I ran across an entrepreneur that had a business in his home. Now, Think about this. This was back in 91 or 92. Early. All right. Had a business in their home. What he did, he walled it off with plexiglass. So he had this glass office. At that point in time, he had a computer and a fax machine. And he had his computer hooked up to his phone line. Oh, go figure. Okay, so he's working on this. And what he did was during the day, he would scour and look at his orders that came in the night before by fax, not over the internet, but by fax machine. It came in over the internet, and then he would scour and he would look at those orders. Then he would go and search the internet at that point in time for the parts. And then he would ship those parts overseas to mining companies. So these mining companies had huge equipment. I mean, bigger than a house, bigger than a block of some of these equipments. And they would break down. So they would order parts by phone, by fax to this guy sitting in the panhandle of Nebraska. He didn't touch a part. He didn't even really know the companies. And he created a huge income stream for himself sitting in his home. Now that was back in the 90s. So what are we doing now? Are we jumping on those types of capabilities that allow people to be creative that we're starting to discount because we don't understand what they do? That's broadband ready for your community, is getting that mindset, getting the environment of your community ready to explode into a strategic economy that you can take advantage of. So if you're ready for that, go for it. If you're not utilizing that infrastructure correctly, you need to call us. You need to call us that we can help you get ready for the change, get ready for the transformation that you need to get ready for.
So we thank you for joining us today at Rural Community Solutions. You could be a lot of places, but here you are. And so we're really grateful. We are here Monday through Friday at 11:30 Central Time on Facebook and YouTube at Rural Community Solutions, or you can catch our podcast if you go to anchor.fm/Frank Spillers and look for the podcast, Think Like an Entrepreneur, Become a Spark Plug.
And tomorrow we're going to be talking about how you support entrepreneurs. You might have the infrastructure for broadband, but how do you really support entrepreneurship within your community? It's a transition to a changing environment that your community needs to do as we continue our conversations on how to build rural America. Thanks for talking.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. Thanks for
people comment. So thanks for engaging with us. We appreciate that. I'm Kim Spillers.
And I'm Frank Spillers. Have a great day, guys.
Happy Groundhog Day. Look for the sun.
And don't repeat yesterday.
Yeah.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.